My mom and sister were hosting Grandpa's 90th birthday. My husband leaned in and whispered, "Get your bag. We're leaving. Act like nothing's wrong." I thought he was being dramatic until he locked the car doors and said, "Something's very, very wrong." 5 minutes later, I called the police. I hadn't seen most of these people in 5 years, some longer. A few I was pretty sure I'd never met. Someone handed me a plastic flute of champagne. A kid ran by, holding a paper plate like a steering wheel. There were folding chairs, paper lanterns, polite music playing from someone's Bluetooth speaker. All the ingredients of a low-key outdoor celebration. Festive, slightly awkward. It should have been fine, and for the first hour or so, it was. I stood by the table of finger food, pretending to be interested in grape skewers. My husband, Roger, was beside me, holding a glass of white wine and watching the crowd with that neutral, inscrutable look he does when he's too polite to say he wants to leave. Mom was in her element, hugging people, wiping tears, reapplying lipstick behind a napkin. Dad was sitting near the grill, complaining about the weather like it personally offended him. My sister Natalie was predictably nowhere near me. Her husband was laughing at something no one else found funny. It was Grandpa's house, but it didn't feel like him anymore. He built it after the business took off. Nothing flashy, but big enough that people whispered about how well he'd done for himself. They all lived here now. Mom, Dad, Natalie, and her husband. I suppose there was room. We'd flown in from London the day before. I'd been asking for years when we could come visit, and the answer had always been vague. It's not a good time. He's not feeling well. Maybe next year. Then this spring, Mom had said, "If you really want to see him, come for his birthday." So I took it. I thought maybe she was softening, that this meant something. The party was already in full swing when they brought Grandpa out in a wheelchair, hair neatly brushed, wearing a sweater vest I vaguely recognized. Everyone clapped like he'd just walked a red carpet. I stood there frozen. He looked good, too good. His face was smooth, his eyes distant, like he was half listening to a song no one else could hear. I waved. He didn't wave back. I told myself, it was age. Mom leaned over and whispered, "He doesn't talk much anymore. It's hard for him." I nodded like I understood. She raised her glass and began the toast, voice shaking just enough to make it about her. 90 years of wisdom, love, and generosity, she said. He built our family. He gave us this life. Some of the guests sniffled. A woman behind me muttered "beautiful" under her breath. Roger didn't clap. I noticed he was staring. "Hey," I said quietly, nudging him. "What's wrong?" He didn't answer, just kept watching Grandpa or the man in the chair, I guess, like he was memorizing every wrinkle. "Roger," I said again. That's when he leaned in. "Get your bag. We're leaving. Act like nothing's wrong." I actually laughed. "You're kidding." He didn't smile. His eyes didn't move. "Get your bag. What are you talking about?" Smile. "Walk inside. Pack. Now." I stared at him. "Roger, what is this? We just got here." He turned his head slowly, finally looking at me. Something is very, very wrong. It wasn't how he said it. It was how calm he was. Like this was fact. Like gravity. My hands went cold. I glanced back at Grandpa. He hadn't moved. His hands rested on the armrest like props. "Are you serious?" I asked. Roger didn't answer. He was already walking toward the house. I followed upstairs. I fumbled with the zipper on my overnight bag. My heart was thudding. My mouth was dry. I kept thinking, if he's wrong, this is going to be so embarrassing. If he's right, we went out the front door. No one stopped us. No one even looked up. At the car, Roger opened the passenger side for me like a gentleman in a spy movie. We both got in. He locked the doors. Then he gripped the steering wheel and said, "That's not your grandfather." I used to think maybe I was imagining it. The difference. The way things played out for me versus my sister. Maybe I was just sensitive. Maybe I was dramatic. Maybe I just like to find reasons to feel left out. That's what I told myself for years, until the day Natalie turned 18 and the entire house acted like she was boarding the Titanic. She was standing at the front door with her duffel bag and a full tuition scholarship, and Mom was crying like someone had died. "You don't have to go," she kept saying. "We'll manage. Please just stay a bit longer." Meanwhile, 2 years earlier, when I turned 18, I got a suitcase and a nod. "It's time to grow up," Dad said. "You're an adult now. Go build your life." No hugs, no tears, no offers to help me pack. I don't want to sound bitter. I honestly don't. I moved out. I went to college. I got on with things. But there's something about being ushered out the door like a polite guest while your sister gets begged to stay. That kind of sticks. The funny part, I didn't even have a choice about college. I knew I had to go. Not because anyone told me to, because I needed an excuse to leave. My parents didn't contribute a cent. I don't even think they asked what I was studying. It was Grandpa who helped quietly. He sent me money every few months, just enough to get by. Rent, groceries, the occasional breakdown. No fuss, no lectures, just a folded check and a note in his shaky handwriting. "Hope this helps. Proud of you." He didn't owe me that, but he did it anyway. I remember him from the very beginning. Before I even had full sentences, I had Grandpa. He'd pick me up and tell me stories in a voice that always sounded like it knew secrets. He made me toys out of wood and showed me how to use a hand plane when I was still in Velcro sneakers. He smelled like cedar and peppermint tea. Back then, it felt like he was mine, like I was his favorite. Maybe I was. But life is good at pulling people apart. College turned into a job turned into Roger. And then just like that, we were living in London. It wasn't some dramatic escape. It was opportunity, work, timing, and maybe, if I'm being honest, relief. Being far away made everything feel easier. Easier not to notice how rarely my parents called. Easier to pretend the silence was just time zones. Easier not to feel the weird hollowness that always followed any conversation with Natalie. No matter how friendly it seemed, we kept in touch. Sort of. Holiday emails, the occasional Zoom call. The last real conversation I had with Grandpa was on one of those, a video chat. He looked older, but still sharp. He asked about my work. I asked about his garden. He made a joke about the squirrels stealing all his tomatoes. That was 3 years ago. After that, things got quieter. I'd asked to talk to him, and Mom would say he was sleeping or not feeling well or too tired. Eventually, she stopped answering altogether. I told myself it was normal. People age, they withdraw. Maybe it was hard for him to talk. But something about it never sat right. So, I didn't press. I had a life, a job, a husband. I told myself it wasn't personal, that I hadn't been cut out, just gently, politely left behind. And then suddenly, there was the birthday invitation, or rather the permission. "If you really want to see him, Mom had said over the phone. Come for his 90th. I didn't hesitate. I booked the flights that night. I thought it meant something. I thought maybe this was the moment things shifted, that maybe I was being let back in. Instead, I walked into a party where I knew no one, stood on grass that didn't feel familiar, and realized that somewhere along the line this whole place stopped being mine, if it ever was. They all lived here now. Mom, Dad, Natalie, her husband. They'd absorbed the house like it was a natural extension of their closeness, their real family. I was just visiting the outsider. I kept telling myself it was in my head, that I was projecting, that I was being dramatic again. But then Roger leaned in and said, "Get your bag," and nothing felt imaginary anymore. We sat in the car like we'd just committed a crime. Or maybe like we'd just escaped one. I couldn't tell the difference yet. Roger was gripping the steering wheel like he was waiting for it to bite him. His knuckles were white. I was still frozen halfway through buckling my seatbelt like if I didn't click it all the way. None of this would be real. What do you mean it's not him? He didn't look at me. I mean, it's not your grandfather? What are you talking about? I'm serious, he said. Calm, but not kind. That man in the wheelchair, that's not him. I stared at him like he'd suggested the cake was made of uranium. You think someone put on a mask, like some Scooby-Doo villain? Not a mask. His ears are different. I blinked. His ears. Roger finally looked at me. You don't get it. I remember faces. Every detail I have since I was a kid. I can sketch a person I saw once at a train station in 2009. I don't forget faces or ears. That's not your grandfather. And just like that, my stomach turned to water. I wanted to laugh, not the ha-ha kind, the unraveling, high-pitched, slipping off a cliff kind. I pressed my hand to my face. My brain tried to logic its way through. It. But what else could it be? Who else could it be? Roger looked back at the house. Your uncle? What? Didn't you say he looked a lot like your grandfather when he was younger? I did. I had. He did. But that was years ago. And besides, my uncle, he wasn't around, was he? He hadn't been at the party. Hadn't said a word. Plus, oh my God, I whispered. He was wearing glasses and a beard. Probably makeup. It wasn't over the top, but just enough. And I'm telling you, those ears, different shape, not even close. Roger. I know, he said. I know what I saw. I pressed my forehead to the window. My breath fogged the glass. My heart was rattling like it was about to knock a hole in my ribs. I didn't want to believe him. I wanted to go back to when this was just a weird party, and I was the uninvited guest, the disappointment daughter, the out-of-town stranger. That version of reality felt so safe. Then where is he? Roger didn't answer. Where is he? I felt the question ripple through me like a fever breaking. Where is Grandpa? Suddenly everything tilted. The awkward toasts, the crying, the half-empty. Guest list. The way no one let me get close to him. The way he never spoke. The way they shut me down every time I tried. I haven't talked to him in 3 years, I said out loud. Roger glanced at me. What? I swallowed. 3 years. The last time was over Zoom. He looked tired. Then Mom said he was too sick to talk. Every time I called, it was he's resting, or he had a rough night. I thought I was just being dramatic. But now I wasn't sure I hadn't been screaming into a void this entire time. Okay, Roger said. I think you need to call someone. I stared at him. You mean the police? He nodded once. If we're wrong, we're not. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I was picturing the look on Mom's face when I left. That tight little smile that didn't touch her eyes. The slight shake of her head like I'd dropped uninvited into my own life. I'm going to ruin everything, I whispered. Victoria, Roger said gently. You're not the one who did that. I reached for my phone like it weighed 1,000 LB. My thumb hovered over the screen. And then I called. The police arrived faster than I expected. 2 officers, plain clothes, quiet. They spoke to us outside the car. I told them what I could, which wasn't much, and made it sound as sane as possible, which wasn't easy. I know. This sounds strange, but I believe someone is impersonating my grandfather. I don't know where he is, and I think something's wrong. They ask questions, calm ones, the kind that feel like traps, even when they're not. Then they nodded and walked up to the house like they were delivering a package. I stayed in the car watching. The party didn't stop right away. No one screamed. No one ran. It was worse than that. Everything just dimmed, like someone turned the dial on reality down by a few notches. People still held glasses, still smiled, but their eyes were darting now, their shoulders tighter. The officers began pulling, people aside. I saw one of them speak to Mom. She looked like someone had told her the wine was Ked. Then she got defensive, gesturing, shaking her head. Her mouth moved fast, but her hands didn't. She wasn't touching anyone, not even Dad. He stood off to the side, staring at the hedge like it held answers. I watched them talk to the man in the wheelchair. He didn't say a word. Then they must have asked for ID. Mom went inside and came back with something. It changed nothing. Then the officers knelt again, talked low. They carried that professional stillness, calm, composed, unreadable. Then one of them stood and walked away. The other stayed. Eventually, the man in the wheelchair looked up and said something. Just a few words. Then he nodded. It wasn't over, not even close. An officer came back to the car. Can you stay nearby? We'll contact you soon. Is it him? I asked. Is it my grandfather? We're still confirming some things, but you know it's not him. He didn't answer that. We'll be in touch. Then he walked away. I sat there feeling every second press down on me like, wait, where is he? Where is he? That night, my phone rang again. How could you, Mom? Furious, crying or screaming, I couldn't tell the difference. You called the police on us on your own family. You think you're better than us because you moved away. I tried to speak. I couldn't. You don't understand. You weren't here. You didn't see what it was like. We did what we had to do for him, for all of us. What did you do? I asked, voice breaking. Where is he? You don't get to ask that. Not now. Not after. What you've done. Where is Grandpa? Silence. Then a click and the line went dead. When the police came to our hotel room door the next morning, I thought I might throw up. Not because I was scared of them, though there was that too, but because part of me was still hoping Roger had just snapped, misread something, got carried away. Mistaken ears, mistaken identity, mistaken everything. But they didn't come to arrest us or question us. They came to tell me that my grandfather was dead, had been for 3 years. They didn't say it like that, of course. They were calm, professional. One officer did most of the talking while the other watched me like I might bolt. There's been a voluntary statement made. The family reports that Mr. Ellis passed away in March 2022. They claim it was natural causes. The body was privately buried. I sat down. I couldn't feel my legs anymore or my fingers. We're treating this as an open investigation until the coroner can confirm the circumstances of death. The words bounced off me like raindrops on a locked car. I heard them. I just didn't absorb them. 3 years. 3 years. And I'd been sending birthday cards. I'd been asking for Zoom calls. I'd been wondering if I'd done something wrong. If maybe Grandpa was mad at me for moving away. If maybe he was just tired, just confused, just too sick to talk. No, he was gone. They didn't even tell me. They didn't tell anyone. I barely remember what I said to the officers. I think I asked if he suffered. They said they didn't know yet. I think I asked if the man at the party was my uncle. They nodded. I wanted to scream or hit something or crawl into a hole and never come out again. Instead, I said, "Thank you." Like a good girl, like a polite idiot. The news started to trickle out online a few days later. At first, it was just whispers, Reddit posts, a local gossip blog. But then someone uploaded a video, grainy, shaky phone footage of the birthday toast, of my mother wiping her eyes, of my grandfather, no, not him, pretending to listen as if it were all real. This man died 3 years ago. His family threw him a 90th birthday party. Anyway, he was played by someone else. The internet did what it always does. It laughed, then it speculated, then it tore us all to shreds. I didn't read the comments. Not after the first 20. Apparently, I was everything from an accomplice to a narcissist to an ungrateful brat who should have just let her family cope in peace. People had opinions. People always do. Then came the call from the lawyer. Not there. Lawyer, his grandpa's. "Victoria, I've been trying to reach you for some time. I nearly hung up. Your grandfather left his estate to you, the house, the business assets, the remainder of the trust, everything." I stared at the floor, at the stupid grout line in the kitchen tile that never quite lines up. My throat went dry. "This wasn't a secret," he added gently. "He told your mother, your sister, years ago." And suddenly, the pieces clicked. The lies, the secrecy, the fake parties, the man in the wheelchair. They hadn't just been hiding his death. They'd been hiding it from me. Because if he was dead, the estate was mine. And if I didn't know, they could keep living in his house, keep using his money, keep pretending I didn't exist. I called my mom. I didn't know what I wanted. Answers, maybe. She picked up on the second ring. "How dare you?" Her voice shook with fury. Not grief, not shame, rage. "You called the police on your own family. You humiliated us. You have no idea what you've done." I tried to speak. She didn't let me. "You weren't here. You don't know what it was like. You left. You gave up on this family and now you swoop in and act like some hero." "Where is he?" I interrupted. Silence. "What happened to him? What did you do with his body?" "You don't get to ask that," she said coldly. "You weren't there." "I asked every year," I said. "You lied every time we were protecting him, protecting you." He didn't want a big deal made of his death. He wanted peace. I laughed. Actually laughed. Came out cracked and bitter like something broken under pressure. "You didn't protect him? You looted him? That's when she hung up. Weeks passed. The investigation moved slowly, then faster. There were statements, interviews, subpoenas. Eventually, the coroner confirmed what my family had claimed. Natural causes. My grandfather had died in his sleep. No trauma, no poisoning, no violence, just an old man's quiet end. I cried for the first time since the police visit because finally, I could mourn him without doubt. But there was still the fraud, the impersonation, the money. Charges were filed, failing to report a death, withholding information, illegally accessing funds, identity deception. They didn't get prison time. They got probation. Conditional, monitored, sternly delivered. If they slipped again, they'd go straight to jail. My uncle, the actor, faced his own charges, but he cooperated. That seemed to help. He got probation like the rest of them. And me, I got the house, the whole property, the assets. It wasn't wildly extravagant, not billionaire level, but it was a lot, enough to explain why they'd pretended for so long. I didn't throw them out. The courts did. They moved out in silence. No apology, no eye contact. My mother left a note behind on the kitchen counter. It said, "You always were good at taking what you didn't earn. I burned it in the sink." The first night I spent there alone, just visiting before heading back to London, I sat in Grandpa's chair. I opened a bottle of wine, put my feet on the table. The place was quiet, still smelled like wood polish. I didn't feel triumphant or vindicated or even angry anymore. I felt dismissed. And for once in my life, I didn't feel like a stranger. I haven't spoken to my parents since, or my sister, not even a text. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. Other times I wonder if I didn't go far enough. Let me know what you think.